All right, welcome everyone. Holding by Pirke Avos, ethics for our fathers. Again, want to welcome everyone. Holding by Pirke Avos, ethics for our fathers. We're in chapter 2, Mishna 15, part 6, and it'll probably be part 7, part 8, part 9 as we work our way through here. So we're speaking about the first part of the Mishnah, which we might actually finish. We'll see. And that is, they each said three things. Rebbe Lezer says, well, your fellow's honor, he is dear to you as your own. Do not anger easily. So there's one other aspect here. One other aspect here that I want to hit. And that is this idea that a person has to be careful with honor, right? We mentioned before, right? A person definitely has to be careful, no question. You have to be careful with honor. And just like it's bad, let's say, for a person to worry about and want honor, right? That for sure is bad. Nobody should really desire honor. Honor, again, one of the three things the Mishna Pirke Avos later is going to say, which we'll get there in about 95, and that is that honor, desire, and jealousy can take a person out of this world. Now, the commentaries there say that these things literally could happen, right? Could literally take you out of this world. All right, so honor is not something we're striving for, right? We're not looking for, right? We're not interested in. I mean, it's good to feel good about yourself, right? I think that is true. No question. We've spoken about that before. Definitely, it's definitely good. Get a nice pat in the back. Definitely true. At the same time, person gotta be careful, right? You gotta be careful with, gaiva, with being, at being conceited. So that's for sure. Right, that's for sure. The fine lines we always say between what's going on. If person is conceited, right, obviously that's bad, right? I don't think there's any question. I don't think there's any question it's bad, but as we said before, we mentioned that you need a certain level of self-esteem. Probably one of the more serious problems today is people feel like a piece of dirt. They don't have self-esteem, etc., which is bad, right? It's definitely bad. But again, there's a fine line, definitely a fine line between that and being conceited, which again, something we're going to be careful about. So therefore, a person, it's bad. It's bad to want honor. You want people to see you, want people to recognize you. That's not self-esteem. Self-esteem is a different thing. Wanting honor itself, so people can look at me, people can praise me, people can say it's great things in sliced cheese, all these things, but we shouldn't be looking for it. If a person looks for honor, it should flee away from them. And just the opposite. If a person doesn't want honor, then honor will come to them. Right? It's not a good thing. Bottom line is, it's not a good thing to want it. Right? That's for sure. Right? It's definitely not a good thing for a person to want. Could lead to all, a lot of bad things. So too, we should be careful about the honor a friend may give us. Right? Again, what did the Mishna here say? The Mishna said, let your fellow's honor be as dear to you as your own. But if you don't go, if you're going away from honor, right? If you're not interested in honor, I can honor your friend. Why should you honor your friend? Maybe honoring that person is going to give them a fat head, going to give them a big ego, right? Maybe that's the case. Maybe we shouldn't honor them. Could lead to worse things, right? Potentially. So really, it's bad in general for a person to want honor, for a person to desire honor. We should also be worried, maybe a person is going to give us honor, right? It is true. Someone there points out that, it's rampant. People want honor today. People are conceited, right? In a lot of ways. People like to post things, all over and this and that. They want all the attention, right? That's true. That is true. And, obviously the way people dress and other things, everything's about me. Look at me. But the reality is, even with that, doesn't mean they have a tremendous amount of self-esteem. I would say just the opposite. Anyone, has got that big ego, think they're God's gift to the world and show off themselves and their body and this and that, shows they have lack of self-esteem. Doesn't show that, they have all the, all the great beliefs in the world, feel great about themselves. Yeah, people feel good. People looking at them. People follow them, let's say on social media. But deep down, they're empty. They're definitely empty. They're not. What do they have? People say, with all followers, all this and all that, not real. Not like real friendship, real love. That's not what it is. It's all inflated. I mean, listen, you can have a lot of negative things towards that also. That's true. But a lot of, I would say more negativity than positive things. I think that's true. But even people who quote unquote have it, and they have it all. Their followers, fame, they got all these things together. Very good. Is that making them happy? Most people today on Prozac, would show to me that they're not so happy. They need something to take the edge off. Right? To be able to function in society. But they have everything. Everything's good. But obviously not everything's good. A person can say, well, having kids, one kid, two kids, maximum, let's say they spoil them and who knows what, and they don't have any, benefit from the kids. Kids only want things. They don't get real values. There are a lot of issues. There are a lot of issues being conceited in what it does and what power and fame and all this does. It's all fake. It's all fake. So, it said in the name of the Baal Shem Tov that a person, or even before that, even bore we get to the Baal Shem Tov, the Mishna in Pirke Avos says as well, Mi Washer, who's considered rich? Who's considered rich? Mishu Samech Bechelkoi. Who's really rich? Somebody who's happy with what they have. Right? That's real wealth. They're happy with their portion. They're not complaining, I should have this, I should have that, I should want this, I should want that. They're happy with what they have. They're not lacking anything. They're not trying to keep up with everybody else. Right? For sure not. So they're happy with what they have. Today we live in a generation, everybody wants more. They'll say they got chipped. Kids will tell the parents, this one made a bar mitzvah like this and like that. Why can't I have this or why can't I do that? Like some other people do. Not everyone has the wherewithal to do it. And even if they did, it's a good. Is that going to be a good thing? Yeah, money comes in handy. Money, my Rebbe would say money's not everything. It's always good to have in your pocket. Okay? Some have more, some have less. You have ups, you have downs. But people have money doesn't mean they're happy. Makes it easier. Different ways. Doesn't necessarily make them happy. People live extravagant lifestyles doesn't mean they're happy at all. They just fly here, fly there. It's like numbing themselves. Right? So honor that someone's going to give to us, you have to remember one other thing. And that is, if a person's really honored in this world, God's going to look down and say, well, they really deserve it. They really deserve this honor. Maybe they're getting honor they don't deserve, and God's going to take away some of the mitzvahs they did. He's going to take away some of that merit. Because the honor they get, again, could be, it's negative. And if it's negative, God can say, well, give them this, they'll get this honor, some honor, whatever it is in this world, but I'll take off some of the mitzvahs they're going to get reward for in the next one. Yeah, we got to be careful about that also. That's why you'll see great people, like, they'll say all these accolades, they're like, no, they'll knock it down. They'll totally knock it down. Why? Because they don't want this thing. They don't want to take it away from the next world. So you're going to say, but if someone honors in this world, it doesn't mean God shows their favor upon them. Depends what it is. If you're talking about fake honor, no. God's never going to be happy with that. It's fake. If it's honor, a great rabbi walks in the room, everyone stands up, to show honor, that's real. That's what we're not talking about that. Right? In other words, a person's like a walking Sefer Torah, you honor them. One of the ways you honor them, you stand up. Right? That shows honor. That shows respect. Gemara says, very interesting. Gemara in a number of places says, stupid Babylonians. Right? Stupid Babylonians will stand up for a Sefer Torah, for a Torah scroll. That they have the respect for. But someone who's a walking Torah scroll, i.e. a rabbinic scholar, that they won't stand up for. So he says so the Gemara says it's called fools. They're called fools because they miss the whole point. Something that's written on paper, okay, it's got holiness. Right? Written on parchment, talking about the Sefer Torah, it's got unbelievable holiness. That's true. So it's an obligation to stand up for it, no question about it. But someone who represents them, someone who's learned it all or learned a lot of it, has the respect of other people because of their knowledge, you're not going to stand up for them when they walk in the room. It's disrespect. That's why the Gemara calls them foolish Babylonians. They have to stand up for something made out of parchment, but they won't stand up for the one who represents it. Right? You got to be careful also. Because even a person gets honor, and even if it's deserved, you got to play it down, because what we're doing in this world is good for hell. What we're doing in this world is not a fraction of what we should be. Right? In other words, what we learn and what we know, very good. Whatever level, can't be satisfied with that. Can't be happy where we are. We got to strive. We have to grow. Many things we need to do. We're going to get judged where where we're holding, what we've done. They're going to say we're in trouble either way, because we always have great potential to reach. Okay. Can you ever rely, rest on your laurels? No. You got to keep going. So it says, in the name of the Baal Shem Tov, the great Hasidic leaders, previous generations, he said a person should be happy when they receive honor. Oh, why not? Why, person gets honored for whatever it is. Does it make them feel good? Sure. All their accomplishments, all their hard work. It's a good feeling. Anyone who's ever been honored knows. It's a good feeling. But he said that it's bad. Why should a person not be happy? Because if they're worthy of honor of what? They've done good things. They've done good deeds. So now people look at them in a different way. People look at their accomplishments. Talking, let's say, in spiritual terms. Right? How much they know, maybe how much they've written, other things, whatever it is. In spiritual terms. In spiritual terms. So they've been honored for good things. But he says a person should be even more careful not to cause the desecration of God's name because of it. In other words, a person gets praised even for good things, and they live up, or they think, they're living up to what the people are saying about them. They're living according to the press clippings, as we would say. What does that do? Gives them a swelled head. Can make them conceited. But there are people who should be honored. Okay. But even if a person is honored, the point is you got to be careful. You absolutely have to be careful. Because now they're looking at you in a different way. Since they're looking at you in a different way, then the pressure on the person is much greater. Why is it much greater? Why would we say it's much greater? Because now they got greater responsibility. You got greater responsibility. If you got greater responsibility, just like we mentioned many times before, the Korban Aaron says in chapter 11, book of Leviticus, Orachim HaKadosh brings them down by the sin of Nadav and Avihu, that if you want to be close to the king, then what happens? You get burnt. Because a minor infraction, you can get burnt over here. If you're the mailman, you're the water boy, whatever, okay, the king's not going to care unless you did something egregious. We'll have one of his lackeys take care of them, take care of that situation. But if it's someone second to the king, and they made a mistake, it doesn't necessarily have to be egregious. If they made a mistake, they're in trouble. Because they're close to the king, so it's a catch-22. If I'm not close to the king, like a friend of mine would say, so if I'm ignorant, God won't have claims against me. Why not? Why wouldn't he have claims? If God saw you had greater potential, and you're not using that potential, God can say, you got greater potential over here. You're not going to be judged as a potato farmer in Idaho, right? No offense, anyone's a potato farmer, grew up in Idaho. Point is, they didn't learn anything. They don't know anything. So they're going to get judged how they're going to get judged. Most of the things they did will be by accident, so they get judged in a lenient way. If they does a great job, if they intermarry, okay. There are certain things that are much more serious, even if they don't know anything. So, ignorance isn't bliss over here. If they could have found out, they didn't look into things, the judgment's going to be more harsh. If there's no way they could have known, or they're just going after desire. So they don't get a free pass. We made this clear many times. They don't get a free pass, but if they did something egregious, if that's great Shabbos in public where they think Shabbos should be kept or not kept, it doesn't matter. There are certain repercussions, right? Death penalty. If there be a temple in Jerusalem, there'd be death penalty. So, to show you the severity of it, intermarriage, probably the single biggest, thing that's destroying the Jewish people today. 50% intermarriage, 60%, 70, 80% in certain places, right? Spiritual holocaust going on. Right? That's for sure. Right? That's for sure. But if you're on a higher level, and even if, let's say, spiritually, you're not on that high of a level, but you're growing, etc. So now the stakes are different. Now how God's going to look at me is going to be very different. Why is that going to be? Right? Why should that be? Very simple. If you weren't holding anywhere in the world, you were a potato farmer in Idaho, you grew up not knowing anything, okay. So God will judge you in a certain way. You do something egregious, punishment's worse. Right? Punishment will be worse even if you don't know anything. Very good. But what if you're holding somewhere in the world? Person comes out of paganism, comes out of Christianity, they want to learn. Very good. Right? They're going to convert, they're not going to convert, whatever. It doesn't really matter. The point is, where they're holding in the world. They now understand what the world's all about. Took them a while to get there. Doesn't matter how long. Yeah. Took them a while to get there. Now they see the absolute truth. Once they see the absolute truth, God says, okay, now I see you're a thinker. Now I see you're on a path here. Very good. He doesn't make it easier. It doesn't make it easier. It's a different set of parameters judging the person. Right? You got the same thing. No different than what Abraham went through. Right? Everyone, everybody was worshiping They're different gods or whatever. Everyone had their pocket gods. Like, here's Bob. Don't leave home without him. Right? Everybody had their pocket god. And Abraham said, there's a God in the world. He's in charge. He's in charge of nature. And I know there's a God because of the world of design. Now, some say he saw that at the age of 3. Some say at the age of 40. Regardless, he fought against the world. That's why it's called Abraham Ivri. Avram Ivri. Ivri doesn't mean a Jew. He wasn't a Jew at that point. Right? The Gemara says he kept the entire Torah before it was given. Okay. Right? Whatever that means. But he wasn't considered a Jew to Mount Sinai. That's when we became Jews. So the question at what level he was, okay, it's a whole discussion. Right? That's a whole discussion. But at the end of the day, what does Ivri over here mean? Right? The Rashi and others say Ivri comes from the word Aver. Aver means from the other side. That means Abraham was on one side of the world. And he fought against everybody on the other side. Right? He fought against the world. What did God do? God said, Avram, I see you're a great thinker. What does he do? Famine. Right? The famine's going to go down to Egypt. Wife gets taken. He has to get his wife. And then there's a war of the 4 powers against the 5 major powers in the world. He had to go save his one remaining relative, Lot. Right? So he goes to war. All these other things happen. He has to sacrifice his son. Right? That was one thing. God says best for last, circumcision, at the age of 100. So God's like, hey, what do you think of my covenant? Like, wow, what a beautiful covenant. Where do I sign up? So if God gave everything everyone wanted, made life so easy, isn't everyone going to sign up? Everyone's going to sign up. Everyone's going to want to be part of the Jewish people. That's all that's what life's about. Right? Many times we said life is not what's fair. It has nothing to do with being fair. We have trials, we have tribulations, we pass them, we fail them. We get more, some of the same, some more, some less, whatever it is. Whatever it is over here. But once a person has greater understanding, think about how this works. A lot of these things we're mentioning now, a person probably never thought of before they came out of, Christianity, wherever they came from. Right? Probably never thought of, real, quote unquote, real issues. Maybe some people thinking more, some people less, whatever it is. Most people in the secular world, most important question they'll ever ask, ketchup or mustard on my hot dog. That's where they're holding. Sports, entertainment, TV, whatever it is, everything else, that's what's important. Okay? But coming to Torah mitzvahs and that God, that God exists and, what's the righteous suffering. I mean, like real issues. What I would call the real world. Other people say, it's fantasy, it's make-believe, and whatever. This is the real world, right? This is the real world. So this is the real world. This is the real world, and now someone comes to the realization there's a God in the world. So now, it's a whole different ball game. Now, it's a world of reward and punishment. Now, it's a world of my thoughts matter. My actions matter. They have repercussions, not just for me, for my family, for generations. We think we do something that's no ramification. So I once started reading the book when I was engaged, Made in Heaven by Vari Kaplan. Oh, Blessed Mary's book it's a book about marriage. So at the beginning, I didn't get past the introduction. Why? Because the introduction, he tells you, how important a decision it is, who you end up marrying. It doesn't just affect you, it affects your spouse, it affects your kid, it affects your grandkids. I'm like, who, me? Bam, shut the book shut. I never got past the introduction. I'm not saying it's a bad book where I was holding at the time. Because there are repercussions for what you do. You don't even see them. Maybe they only come on the next generation or a generation after that. But who we marry, kids we have, how we deal with them, of course it affects. It affects who they're going to marry, right? A lot of things. Parents have huge responsibility. Huge responsibility. Parents can make their kids or break them. I don't think that's in between. And a lot of kids, they grow up, they don't have anything to do with their parents, right? Teenagers, different creation altogether. They think they know the world. They think they know everything. Parents are square. Parents are this. They don't understand. They're going to find their own way. Okay. It's one of the hardest things. One of the hardest things is the parents to watch their kids suffer, to watch them go down a bad path. And a lot of times, there's nothing you can do. Nothing you can do. Question is how far they fall. You have to pick up the pieces. You always have to be there for them. You have to be the rock of Gibraltar. You got to be strong you're very, very strong. Very, very strong. It's a hard generation today. And so people say every generation is hard. Yeah, every generation has their evil inclination. Talk about the early 1900s. It's all about the Enlightenment, right? It's all about isms that people got involved in, communism, socialism, right? Went away from Judaism, lost, a lot, from all these different things, etc. So it's a huge responsibility. Teachers have a huge responsibility. Teachers can also make or break students, right? They also have to be careful. There's tremendous power of influence. So that being said, a child could be, taught something or something said to them. And what happens? They like I was said, in this cream puff generation, people get demolished. They totally get demolished. Can't handle criticism, any type of criticism. Right? No question. So, judgments, and how God looks at the world is very different than we see it. The person will say, okay, I've come out of paganism, I've come out of Christianity. I don't expect it to be easy. At the same time, I don't expect it to be that hard either. The opposite extreme. So why is that? So again, simple explanation is when a person now has a whole different knowledge base and they see the world, as we always say, in the bigger picture, in the bigger scheme of things, God looks at a person different. If it's a potato farmer in Idaho, unless they did something really egregious, you get judged in a certain way. They're guilty, but, God's not going to throw the book at them. It depends what they do. But now if somebody knows better, and again, someone may say, but it's not fair. I come with this realization. Why don't I get helped along the way? This, that, and the other thing. Why is it, I have all these trials and tribulations. Good question. But now you're holding a different place. God's looking at you in a different way. The ramifications and the parameters are totally different. Totally different. You can't have that question. I mean, in theory, you could. Right? But now you understand. Or a person will understand that now I have certain knowledge. Now I understand I have to be careful what I say. I have to be careful how I dress. I have to be careful, dealing with others. I have to be careful with all these things, whether it's between man and God. The playing field, as we would say, is much different. Much, much different. So on the one hand, person gets honor. We'll get back to where we were. Person gets honor because of their good deeds. Got to be careful, because now the parameters are different. God's looking at you a different way. You got to be careful not to desecrate His name. Now, on the other hand, if they're not worthy of honor, let's say, I'm not talking about someone who's totally humble here and has unbelievable humility. We're not talking about that. Talking about, okay, somebody not worthy of honor, and now they get honor. Now, what should they be worried about? In other words, let's say opposite of what we said. They have tremendous humility. They say, why should someone honor me? No idea. I don't deserve honor. That's because of humility. Doesn't mean they don't necessarily know their place, but also another mission of Pirke Avos. The person has to know their place. But at the same time, they're very humble. They say, I don't deserve honor. Why should I get honor? I'm doing what God says. Why should I get honor? So they should be really worried that if they do get honor, why are they getting honor? Why would they be getting honor in this world? Could be to be taken away from your merit in the world to come. In other words, someone put up on a pedestal somewhere, and they're like, I don't deserve this honor, this, that, and the other thing. What happens? In other words, we should be worried sometimes that if we get goodness in this world, then that goodness is only because we did certain mitzvahs, God's paying us back for the mitzvah in this world and not in the next. That's a scary proposition. Very, very scary proposition. Why? Because it means that, if a person, let's say in physical terms and other terms, things are going really well. Going really, really well. Livelihood's good. Let's say they're married. That's going good. Your kids are doing well. Everything seems to it's going well. They can say, what should you be worried about? Well, God has an obligation to keep according to his laws. So God says, if you do the wrong thing, we say the Shema twice a day, or for some 3 times, we say before you go to sleep, right? And that second paragraph is all about reward and punishment. Right? God has to reward you for the mitzvahs that you've done. God has to punish you for the transgressions you've done. Now, could it be that even if someone's really evil, but they did a few mitzvahs in their life, they helped Granny cross the street, they gave charity once in their lives, but they did terrible other things that God wants to wipe them out in the next world, meaning they'll die like a dog. No offense to any dog lovers, when a dog dies, poof, that's what happens. No portion of the world to come. Even if the person was reincarnated into that dog. Doesn't matter. Dog dies, the soul goes up, reincarnation, we're not going to go there. But that's what happens. Dog dies. Dog dies. The problem is, the person will say, I don't understand. Got a rich person, very wealthy person. Let's say, but he's evil, totally evil. Never prays, speaks Lashon Hara, does all kinds of other transgressions. So why do evil people seem to have it easy? One answer is that they've done some mitzvah in their world, in this world, let's say a few mitzvahs, whatever it is, God has to reward them. You're going to say, why? Why should God reward them? He spits in their face on a daily basis. Why should he reward them? You know why I should reward them? Because God says anyone who keeps my mitzvahs gets reward. But the point is, God doesn't want to see them in the next world. So what does God do? He'll give them the mitzvah, the reward in this world, right? For any mitzvah they did, and he'll wipe them out in the next world, meaning they will not have a portion of the world to come. When they die, they die. That's it, nothing. Their soul disintegrates, that's it. They get nothing in the next world. Right? So here, so even by us, you're going to say even by us, we should be worried about that. The Rebbe said many times, many, many times. We also have to be careful. We have no idea where we're going, and we hope. We've done enough mitzvahs to get to the next world. We hope that. The Ramchal and Derech Hashem, and the way of God says, you have to hit a certain level, certain minimal level to have a portion of the world to come. Very good. Nobody knows what that is. Can't take it for granted. I would say, as a form of consoling over here, and that is that if a person's trying hard and they're working hard in Torah mitzvahs, yeah, they should have a portion of the world to come. I could lose it this way, that way, the other way. You need repentance. Yeah, there are a lot of other factors going on. A lot of other factors. But if a person's working hard and going in the right path, they should have a portion of the world to come. Some will have more, some will have less, whatever it is. Right? But you're working hard towards that goal. But someone evil, come on. Why should they have a portion of the world to come? They should have absolutely zero. So what does God do? He can't go against what he said, how he set up the world. So someone who does a good deed, they do a mitzvah, God's going to reward them in this world. Why? Because they don't want to have them in the next world. Now, I would say, just based on that, not everybody today is inherently that evil. There are bad people, no question. Not going to say there aren't bad people. There are plenty of bad people out there. But the question is, that bad, God's just going to wipe them out in the next world? There's some, yeah. I'm not taking a survey here. Some, that would be the case for sure. Most people are not that bad. They're not that bad. God will judge it how he judges it. Do I think a lot of people are going to make it to the next world? Good question. I'm not playing God over here. I would say, though, depends what they've done. But most people today, speaking about Jews, most people today, they're just doing things based on design. The problem is a lot of them, 60, 70% are intermarried. Yeah, it's hard to repent for such a thing. Yeah, so how many Jews are going to make it in the next world? How many Jews are going to survive the war of Gog and Magog? Right? So the only remnants, right? Remember, the prophet said the third are going to die, third are going to survive, and a third are going to be injured of the world. Third are going to die one shot. A third will survive, a third will be injured. That's a huge amount of people. But the Torah says there's only going to be a remnant of Jews left. So what's the simple answer? Simple answer is if you're trying to keep Torah mitzvahs, or you are keeping Torah mitzvahs, you got a good chance of surviving. Hopefully. If you're not, first of all, you're intermarried 60, 70%, they'll be wiped out. Yeah, unless there's serious repentance, but how are you going to repent seriously if you're intermarried? Unless you divorce or the non-Jewish spouse dies. Right? It's going to be kind of hard. But at the end, it's only supposed to be a remnant that survives. Now, someone's going to ask, what about non-Jews? What about non-Jews that don't convert before the Messiah comes? Because after the Messiah comes, even if they survive, they won't be able to convert. Right? Just like the Gemara says at the time of King David, King Solomon, since there'll be open miracles, they won't be able to convert. They will not be able to convert. So what about non-Jews? So if they're going in the right path, they repented from their evil ways, they're holding by the Noahide laws, they should survive. They definitely should survive. Right? To keep the Noahide laws because God said so, and he passed it down to Moses, gave it to us. Yeah, that's also another criteria. Right? You have to believe you're keeping the Noahide laws and you don't convert, or you don't want to convert. That has to be the criteria. You're keeping it because God said so. But how many, if they're holding there, very good. What about the rest of the non-Jews? Seem to be wiped off the face of the map. Over here. We're not going to be, it doesn't seem there's going to be so many survivors left. Right? That's the way it seems. So my point is that, evil people, God will reward them in this world for the few mitzvahs that they did and wipe them out. He will totally wipe them out in the next world. Right? Because he doesn't want to see them in the next world. That's what he'll do. That's why it seems very strange. Because you're going to say evil people have it easy. Yeah, that's why they have it easy. But why do righteous people have it more difficult? Oh, so if you're on a higher level, that's what we're talking about. If you're on a much higher level, a minor infraction could be disastrous. Yeah. Someone at a very high level spiritually in God's eyes made a minor mistake. Seemingly a minor mistake. That for most people wouldn't matter. For them to hold it at a higher level, the punishment would be catastrophic. But why would that be? Because God's going to nail him in this world and hit him very hard in this world, because the next world is going to come in squeaky clean and won't have to suffer. So we should also want to suffer in this world more, right? That's what you want. So we go in the next world squeaky clean. But I'll tell you, every morning we pray, don't bring me to trials and tribulations. But if you don't have trials and tribulations, you don't grow. Catch 22. You don't grow spiritually. Right? It's a problem. So you have to say, but I can't have both ways, right? So when we have trials and tribulations, whatever it is, you got to say, okay, God, you're giving me this. I'm going to pass it 100%. I'm not going to buckle. I'm not going to wince. I'm going to say, thank you very much for this trial. You're working on my anger tremendously. You're helping me with this. You're helping me with that. You got to be thankful. Because the reality is, if you didn't have trials and tribulations, what would that seem to say? God doesn't care. You want to eat shrimp? Go eat shrimp. You want to make a lot of money? I'll give you a lot of money. You want this? I'll give you this. Right? Just like the snake. What did God do with the snake? Cut off his legs. Snake had legs. Right? With Adam and Eve, snake had legs. God cut off his legs. Why did he cut off his legs? So the Torah says he's going to have food all the rest of his life. He's going to be eating dirt, food the rest of his life. So what kind of curse is that? Man got the curse. We got to work by the sweat of your brow. Right? You got to work hard all the time to make money. Very good. Sometimes easier, sometimes not. But you're not going to be given everything on a platter. Snake's got everything. He's always got food. Yeah. He never complains. He's always got food. Oh, that's the whole point. God gives him everything. Why did God give him everything? So he won't pray to me. He won't have any connection to me. I'm taking him going, bink. I knock him out. I won't have any connection to him. So God gives him everything. So too, people that are considered evil in God's eyes, right? Certainly maybe evil in our eyes as well. And God gives them everything now. Why? God's not going to make life hard for them because he doesn't want them to pray. He's not interested in their prayers. He doesn't want them to draw close to him. So God says, I'm going to give you millions. I'm going to give you this. I'm going to give you that. You'll be so busy buying things, selling things, this, that. You have no connection to me at all. And I'm going to wipe you out in the next one. Nobody wants that. You want to have a connection. But the problem is you have a connection. You're working hard. What can God do? He can make your life a misery. Or we do it to ourselves based on our actions. So at the end of the day, the trial never lasts. It doesn't last forever. It could last a while. Who knows? We have ups, we have downs. But the mantra is, God, you're the one in charge. That's the mantra. I don't deserve to be helped, but you should have mercy on me. You should have mercy on my family. You should have mercy, whatever. That's the mantra. He's in charge. He 100% is in charge over here. Right? But we say everything comes from him. I make decisions. You can make good decisions. You can make bad decisions. But he's the one calling the shots and the repercussions. We just don't like it a lot of times or sometimes. But we got to see where it all comes from. And in the end, even something looks really bad, it's good. In the end, it's going to be good. Because one door closes or two doors close, another door opens. Sometimes we see it directly, sometimes we don't. Right? But in the end, you're never left in the lurch. You're never left by yourself. See, that's a huge thing. I say this all the time. I think you should give comfort to a lot of people. Person says, I got this difficulty, that difficulty, the other difficulty. You're right. It might be all difficulties. True. But you have the ability to give it to Ribono Shel Olam, right? To master of the world. You throw it all on him. Listen, business is failing. This is hard. Okay. Right? The Choshen Vavos says the duty is the heart and the gate of Bitachon, the gate of belief in God, belief and faith in God. He's the one in charge. So no matter what I do, I'm not going to change anything per se unless God wills it. But he said, you got to put your best foot forward. So what do? You say, okay, I'm going to put my best foot forward. This is what I'm going to do. And you're going to do the rest. You got to do the rest. You know what that does? It takes a huge burden. But you feel your world is caving in. You know who's got the biggest bank account in the world? God does. Can he change anything clarifying like the blink of an eyelash? Absolutely. I'm sure most people can tell stories. Yeah, they might have been down, this happened, that happened, other things they didn't expect to happen. That means God cares. That means God's in the background, right? But when you're going through it, you're being crunched, it's hard. You're being torn apart on all sides. Yeah. Right, but that's the mantra. That absolutely is the mantra. When you throw your burden to him, it feels good. You probably lost like 5 kilos, like 11, 12 pounds. You're like, look at all that weight I lost. Beautiful. I don't have to worry. Let him worry. Let him worry. I remember a number of things happened to me. I said, okay, I don't know what you want here. I have no idea what you want. I'm putting my best foot forward. Now, certain things I didn't expect anything to change. Did not expect anything to change. And overnight it changed in a way I never would have imagined. Never would have imagined. I'm still getting benefit from it today, 2 years, 3 years later. Why did it change? I can't answer. I don't have an answer. The only answer is God changed it. He changed it overnight. Did I take something on? I don't know. I don't have an answer. It happens. It happens when you least expect it in a way that you couldn't have imagined. Right? You couldn't have imagined. So you say, okay, God, I don't know what you want here. I'm working on this, I'm working on that, trying this, trying that. You're in charge. You'll take care of it. It's your problem. You'll take care of it. You're allowed to do that. That takes off the burden from you. Now, that mean I'm going to kick back and sip a pina colada? No. I mean, maybe ease the mind a little bit, but in general, God's the one in charge. We're to worry about. Again, doesn't mean you don't do anything. You got to put your best foot forward. Very good. I have to put my best foot forward. Do I'm going to sit there, and worry about every little thing? No. I put it on him. Can he change anything overnight? Yes. A blink of an eyelash. Could it take more time, this, that, because God wanted to squeeze you like the bottom of the toothpaste? Yeah, maybe. Because he wants to work on your moon and be talking to him, your belief and faith in him, true. That's what he wants. But at the end of the day, When you got a father in heaven that's looking out for you, even if it doesn't look so good now, it's kind of like, lahavdil, make a big distinction. Nachshon ben Aminadab. The Egyptians are coming, and God is going, says, go in the water. No one wants to go. He jumps in. It's like, Nachshon, we're right behind you. Right? The water gets up to his knees. It's getting up to his loins, getting up to his shoulders. Like, Nachman, great job. We're still behind you. Right? Going up to his neck. He's about to go under. He's like, well, Nachshon's a good try. It was a good try. And all of a sudden, boom, next step, he's about to go under, and the sea split. So he needs someone to jump in. But he has that absolute faith. Right? But God said, jump in the water, I'm going to take you. Okay, so maybe tell me that, lack of a belief a little bit in him, this, that, at this point, whatever it is. I mean, that's a big discussion, huge discussion. Yeah. But the point is, self-sacrifice. God said it, okay, this is what we're going to do, however he's going to do it. That has to be our mantra, regardless of how hard it is. And you thank God he gave you the opportunity to work on different character traits. Why? Why? Because if he didn't care, he'd give you all this money, make everything easy, and leave you alone. That's worse. That's what he's saying over here. You don't want to receive all the goodness in this world. Now, it doesn't mean you shouldn't make ends meet. All right? It doesn't mean you shouldn't have, you shouldn't have your needs met. That doesn't mean that. Right? What it means is you don't want to have everything given to you on a platter, then now you start to worry. I said, wow, this one easy, that one easy, the other thing went easy. Why shouldn't a person worry that maybe they're eating up their portion of the world to come because it's so easy? That's what he does with evil people. Maybe God thinks I'm evil, right? Person could have, what do you call it? OCD in this case. Could very well have OCD. Drive them nuts. But you know what? You got to put your best foot forward. That's the bottom line. Bunch of questions here. Let me see. Someone asks, imagine, we're talking about conceit. Someone says, younger generation probably do lack self-esteem. How can we help so many of them? Yeah, that's a good question. That is a good question. The answer, the great rabbi once told me, was many, many years ago, told me that you got to build them up and give them self-esteem. You got to tell them, even something minor. Why? Cleaned up for yourself. Such a big thing. You did this to help me. Such a big thing. It doesn't have to be anything major. It makes them feel good about who they are. So I said, but if you do that, you build them up. You keep telling them how great they are. And, oh, look, you did this and you did that. Again, it doesn't have to be anything major. But you're giving them compliment after compliment. That's great. But isn't that going to lead to gaiva? Isn't that going to lead to being conceited? He said, don't worry. If that's the case, I can work with that also. I know how to work with that also. But I don't think it's about conceit. There are people, I agree. There are people, they're on TikTok, they're on Facebook, and it's all about them. It's all about them. Yeah, and how they dress and what they, all these things. Yeah, you're right. You're right. But again, deep down, these people are lacking. They're lacking 100%. Well, these people on drugs, other things, because they have no self-esteem, even with all the glitz and the glamour. Right? So if we build people up, even, young kids, minor things, thanks for helping doing this, or thanks for doing that, or you build them up. You tell them, oh, you got such great potential. Look what you're doing over here. This is so great, whatever. You build them up. Building them up gives them self-esteem. That's what it does. So that's what we can do. And today, sometimes you have to criticize. Sometimes you have to discipline. Okay. Like a father has to discipline a child. That may be true. You don't want to destroy them. A person would say, come on, you did this better than this. You're bigger than this. How could someone with such great potential, okay, sometimes people fall. They definitely can fall. Make mistakes, make serious mistakes. And sometimes sometimes they're vulnerable for different reasons. But we have an obligation to try and build them up as best as possible. Yeah. Will some end up being conceded? I don't know, maybe a small fraction, maybe. Then you can put them in their place other ways. But that's like, I would say, at least in the Rome. At least in the Rome. They have to be taught, that they've done good things and build them up. And they'll say, no, it's not really such a big deal. You make it into a big deal. One time on their own, they decided to take out the trash. Trash overflowing, whatever. They decided to take out the trash. That's a huge thing. You gotta say, take out the trash. What? That's such a big thing. Yeah. You got to praise them for that. They did it on their own. No one told them to do it. But if they did it, when you asked them, you also, you thanked them. Thank you very much. Such a big help. And I was busy with this. And you took this burden right off my head. I didn't have time. What? That builds them up. Little by little. And again, we're not looking at huge things here. That's what I would say. Somebody asks, I think Jacob circumcised like Abraham. Yeah, he had a obligation to circumcise him. Torah says he did, right? Why not? No, it's not obligated to be circumcised. Why should they be? The command was given to Jews, not to non-Jews, right? Only by Abraham because he's going to be a Jew, right? So God gave that command. God gave that command, and then that was for all future generations, the seed of Abraham. There is a question. There is a question by Bnei Keturah, the sons of Keturah, of Hagar, whether they had to do the same level of circumcision as the Jew. So that's the whole discussion, the Rambam and others, right? That was the whole discussion. But I think most rabbinic authorities hold that that they should go through circumcision. So you say, why don't the Muslims do it at a different age? They do it at a different age. They don't do it after 8 days. But even so, we hold today that Sancheiriv came and mixed up all the populations. If he came and mixed up all the population, we don't know who the true Muslims are. We don't even know the true descendants of Ishmael are. The Muslims will say, we are, and we got this proof and that proof. We don't, we would say that's not true. We would say we don't know. 100% we don't know. So if we don't know, we don't do it. We don't do it, if we have a doubt. If we have a doubt over here. Right? But again, even more than that, the Torah says, I think it's by the prophet Ezekiel or Jeremiah, right? They say there are 3 signs that make Jews Jews. 3 signs that are only for Jews. One of them, the Torah says clear. Torah says clear by 2 things. Right? One of them is Shabbos. God says it's a sign between me and the Jewish people. The other is we have circumcision, right? That's true. And we have tefillin. Phylacteries, God says also it's a sign between me and the Jewish people. So tefillin, non-Jews shouldn't put on. What if the process of conversion? So they only learn to put them on right before conversion, but they shouldn't wear them. Shouldn't wear them at all during conversion. So those 2 are explicit in the Torah. So now there's a 3rd thing, circumcision. Right? Circumcision also mentioned on the 8th day it should be done. Right? But I think that when the prophet Jeremiah or Ezekiel, I think it's Jeremiah, if I remember correctly, that he says it's a sign between God and the Jewish people. So those 3 things are signs between God and the Jewish people. So no, I don't have to. Definitely don't have to. It doesn't apply to them. 100% doesn't apply to them. Because God says it's a sign between me and you. Right? So they got non-Jews saying, no, I want to partake also. Nope. Doesn't belong to them. It's not part of them. Right? That's what I would say. Does Shem forgive the Germans? Why should he forgive them? Annihilate them. Or why did he forgive them? Why would he say forgive them? They were part of Amalek. Right? God just used the Germans to get to the Jews. Right? They're part of Amalek. I think most people agree because of their sheer cruelty. And why would he forgive them? He annihilated them. They have forced the world to come? I don't think so. Definitely don't think so. Right? He used them. He used them to kill thousands of millions of Jews. Okay. Yeah. Why should he forgive them? Where's forgiveness in? Is he any Germans that this would be a hard question. If Hitler Yamach Shemoy V'Zirko didn't kill himself, and he went into a base thing, went to a rabbinical court and said, like, I'm so sorry, everything I did, Jewish people, whatever, should really be praised, and whatever, I want to convert to Judaism. They take him? Would they take him? The hard question. But you see, the Gemara says, by Nebuchadnezzar. Now, Nebuchadnezzar was the hatchet man of Nebuchadnezzar. Right? He killed tens of thousands. I mean, seems even more. Right? Depends if it's just an exaggeration or not. But he killed a lot of people. A lot of people. And eventually, he fled and converted. I think Rebbe Meir came out of him, generations later. So my question always before Tisha B'Av when I come across this Gemara is, why did he allow him to convert? Why in the world would he let the butcher of Baghdad, butcher of Nebuchadnezzar, butcher of Babylonia, why would he allow him to convert? Why would he allow him to convert? So what would I say? What would I say? Because God has infinite mercy, even someone like that could convert. So you're saying that the Germans forgiven. Who says the Germans are forgiven? Why would you think the Germans are forgiven? The Germans have murdered people, yeah. God took care of them. And I can't guarantee unless some of them repented, which even if they did, is God going to accept their repentance? Who knows? But the Germans today, what's their liability? Germans today killing Jews? Massacring Jews like the Nazis? No. So they're relatives of these people, of these butchers. Right? They're relatives of them. So why are they liable? They're not liable. Their grandparents are liable. If there are any of them left. They're all liable for what they did. God will take care of them today. Why should they be liable? Why in the world should they be liable? They shouldn't be liable. 100% they shouldn't be liable. Someone asked, I know about lighting Shabbos candles, commandments. What about tefillin? Yeah, what about them? Can one convert in synagogue and not? So tefillin again. Person converts, they can't. They can't wear tefillin until conversion. It's a ton to know. I'm not exactly sure what the question is. What are the commandments for women? Plenty of commandments. Got to learn the laws of Shabbos. Sorry to read the question, right? You got to learn the laws of Shabbos. You got to learn the laws of kashrus. You got to learn the laws of modesty, laws of Lashon Hara, all the holidays. I mean, just like men, in many ways. I mean, they don't have an obligation to learn exactly the way men do, etc. But, they have plenty of, they have similar obligations. When it comes to Shabbos, prayer is a little bit different, but they have an obligation to pray at least once a day. So there are plenty of things. How can a woman just light Shabbos candles not know anything about Shabbos? She has to know the laws of Shabbos, right? She's in the kitchen alone. She has to know, you got a, what do you call it? A hot plate. Friday night, I want to take things off. Am I allowed to take things off? When am I allowed to take things off? Do I have to have intention? Shabbos, you have to know. The laws of festivals, you have to know. Right? Laws of Lashon Hara, you have to know. Laws of modesty, you have to know. Kashrus, you have to know. 20 things. Just like men. Some of them are a little bit different. But, in general, do women have to go to synagogue to pray? No. If they can, very good. Though they don't have to. They don't have to pray at fixed times either. Like men do. So there's certain things, they have less obligation. Prayer, they're obligated to pray, right? At least once a day, twice a day, according to some. But if they have little kids, it's a different issue. But even so, they have to go, they have to be part of a service? No. Come Shabbos, should they go to synagogue? If they can. If they can, they should go. Obligation? No. But most other things, when it comes to Shabbos and festivals and all that, they're the same as men. They're not different. They're not different. Somebody asks, one second. Somebody asks, before detention, you don't want to be noticed as a result. You period contact with people. Is that wrong? No, not necessarily wrong. Look, you have to live in the world. You don't live in you don't live in a cave. You have to live in the world. That's for sure. But if you want to stay in the background, then that's not a problem. That's definitely it's definitely not a problem. Someone says, well, I'm more antisocial, this, that. Okay, doesn't necessarily mean you have to be so social either. right? You want to stay in the background and not have too much contact. Okay. I don't think it's necessarily a problem. Staying out of the limelight definitely takes a lot of burden off, in many ways. But yeah, I wouldn't say, I wouldn't say it's such a problem. Something like a job interview, you could be asked why she would choose you over someone else. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so a person has to assert themselves and say, well, I have these qualities, I'm good at this, and okay, but that's different. You can't, stay in the background of that. You don't want to answer, they probably won't hire you. So you might have to get out of your comfort zone a little bit and say, yeah, I'm good at this, I'm good at that, I'm good at the other thing. And that's not giving you, a fat head. That's not making you conceited per se. You're just saying, I have these qualities. But again, I think it's much easier where, that's not going to lead to necessarily being conceited. The problem is where a person has no self-esteem, or very little self-esteem. And they say, wow, I'm not really good at this, I'm not really good at that. Like, they're not going to hire you. I'm not saying you have to lie, to get the job, but you can be honest without being conceited. And that's part of the job process. But that's kind of the way it goes. Like, why should you hire you? You're right, it's a good question. I'll tell you like this: you go to Beis Din, right? You go to a person who goes to rabbinical court to convert. They're going to ask you why you want to convert. Kids, I don't like that question. Well, too bad. That's one of the things they're going to ask you. And I'll give everyone a hint over here, whoever's going to go to a Beis Din to convert. And that is, don't say, I love the Jewish people, I want to be part of them, this and that. No. Tell them something concrete. Something concrete why it came out of Christianity. Even if it was touchy-feely. Say something a little more concrete. Yeah. But you won't like that either, but they're going to put you, they're going to grill you. Some will do it more, some will do it less. They want to see, well, what? Do you have any ulterior motives why you converted? They're not going to ask that outright, but they'll ask you all kinds of questions. It's also uncomfortable for people. People don't want to, people don't want to be grilled like that. That's part of the process. That 100% is part of the process because they want to see if you're real. They want to see what's behind what you're doing. So you have to give them something. You have to give them something why you want to go through this process. You can't just because I love the Jewish people, they're going to think you're a nutcase. Why would someone love the Jewish people? There must be something wrong with them. Look at what the Jewish people have gone through. They've been gassed and murdered and exiled and all these different things looked down upon, right? Something, wow, I admire their intestinal fortitude. So you want to get gassed also? You want to be part of a group that's on the, even though there are a lot of good things going on and a lot of yeshivas and a lot of girls' schools and, communities growing by leaps and bounds. Yeah, that's very good. But yeah, anti-Semitism is still very high. Still very, very high. Yeah. So they'll say, wow, it'd be so great to join the Jewish people. I'm like, why? You want to keep these laws that don't make sense? 80% of them or more don't make any logical sense. That's what you want to be part of. You want to be persecuted just for being Jewish? I'm saying you're going to have to answer these questions. They come up with something, so to speak. Someone here says the government shouldn't choose the person that best fits their needs. You're right, but again, if the company wants to hear what you have to say, say, look, you could say, I'm not saying not. You could say, well, look at my resume. And you'll say, look what I've done, look where I've been. But they're again, they're asking a specific question. You could get around the question somehow, but you're right. It's not necessarily a fun question to answer, but that's what I would say. Maybe also when you're confident in your abilities, you're also interviewing them as, yeah. In other words, it's also very good. Person comes across not like they're meek and they're weak and whatever. They have, they have confidence. Confidence doesn't mean being conceited. Does not mean that. I've heard people say that, say that about me, but that's, if you come in with a certain level of knowledge, like, oh, you're pretty sure of yourself, you think yourself. My question, thinking I'm great, I'm not great. It's either permissible, it's not permissible. You have certain knowledge, you don't have certain knowledge. It's not about being consistent. Oh, you think you're right, and you think you look down upon I don't look down upon anyone. I believe the Torah is right because God spoke to the Jewish people. There's a lot of proof. You want to hear it? No. Okay. We understand there's a lot of proof. People don't want to listen. I don't want to listen. Yeah, that makes me conceited. Oh, you think you're always right? No. I think the Torah is always right. Right? So at times, yeah, you might have to compromise certain things according to the Torah. Maybe. Depends on the situation. But the Torah is what it is. So if you believe in it, that doesn't mean you're conceited. So well, these other people think their religion's right. Okay, so what I'm thinking. I got proof why it's not right. Want to hear it? That's not being conceited. People look at someone who has great confidence, or let's say better, has a lot of confidence being conceited. It's not true. I mean, it may be true, but in general, it shouldn't be true. Just because someone's confident doesn't mean they're conceited. Doesn't mean that. Can a Noahide or a JIT, Jew in training, refrain from smoking on Shabbos even though they're not keeping Shabbos? Yes. Right? So a Noahide, no. A Jew in training, even though de facto they're a Noahide, but they're training to be Jewish. So if they smoke, yeah, they're not allowed to smoke on Shabbos. But you're going to say, but they're not Jewish. Okay. So if they want to smoke, they can. It's not a problem. Question's going to be when they have to really start keeping Shabbos, like, and they can't desecrate it anymore. Once they become a Jew, they're not allowed to smoke on Shabbos. Right? That's the answer. Noahide is there's no purpose in them refraining from certain, certain categories that are forbidden for Jews on Shabbos. No purpose for them. Because Shabbos doesn't really apply to them. Right? So if they want to smoke, let them smoke on Shabbos, not a problem. Because once they say, I'm not doing it because I don't want to do it on Shabbos, make it up a new religion. Problem. That's a definite problem. A JIT, a Jew in training, is a different issue. They're on the path of conversion. Can they smoke anyway? Yes. Because they're not Jewish. Up until the mikvah, could they smoke? If they're going to the mikvah on Sunday, can they smoke on Shabbos? Yes. Forget about the health issues. Could they? 100%. 100%. Why? Because they're not Jewish. So that wouldn't be an issue. But I would say if a person, wants to become Jewish, that's something that eventually they should stop. Doesn't mean they have to stop it now or tomorrow, but eventually, if they smoke, they should stop smoking on Shabbos. That's for sure. That's for sure. But a non-Jew, for a Noahide, no. Not at all. They shouldn't be doing things that are, they shouldn't take on certain categories they don't want to do on Shabbos. Doesn't apply to them. 100% doesn't apply to them. Right? So, Kaufman always says, don't straddle the lines. You want to stay non-Jew, do what non-Jews do. You're a Jew in training, you can do what Jews do. You have to desecrate Shabbos, at least one thing on purpose, desecrate a festival, at least on purpose, whatever it is. But it's not Jew, you have to keep what the Torah says. For Jews, non-Jews don't have to. Right? Noahides don't have to. If you're a Jew in training, again, take on more things, less things, whatever. But once conversion comes, you have to take on everything. Right? So you're going to practice what to do. Yeah, any other questions? Any other questions? Someone here says that if a non-Jew gets mentally challenged, does that mean Hashem doesn't want his mitzvahs? No. Doesn't mean he doesn't want his mitzvahs. It's punishment, actually. It's definitely punishment. Someone is born that way. You'll say, well, if the child and they're mentally challenged, is it their fault? It's not the child's fault, it's the soul's fault. The soul that goes into the child is being paid back for whatever it did in a previous life. It's getting paid back to be mentally challenged. Now, could someone get mentally challenged later? Yeah. 100% they could. It's same with the punishment. Yeah. There were great rabbis even that, at the end of their life, they had dementia. They had, what's it called? They had Alzheimer's. We don't understand why these things happen. But would you say that's a punishment? Yeah. It is at some level. Yeah, for sure. Even if it happened on not their control. My his wife got Alzheimer's in her early 60s. So he claimed she had an operation and they gave her too much anesthesia. And that's what caused it. I don't know if that's been proven or not. She got it very young. I mean, she ended up dying, I think, whatever, in the mid 70s. But yeah, it's a horrible thing, right? It's a horrible thing. someone, I don't know, someone's under too much pressure and they crack. And their lives are never the same. Right? Let's say. Now, does God want a person to crack in that situation? Become, mentally incompetent now? No. It's not what he wants. Yeah. So why did it happen? If I knew a lot of these answers, I wouldn't be doing this, I'd be world famous. But, a simple answer is that God does not put a person in a situation they can't handle. At least we don't, we may think we can't handle it, but that never happens. So if a person cracks under pressure, let's say, it's some sort of punishment. They cracked. That's all God wanted. They failed the test. Essentially, they failed the test. That's what you have to say. They failed the test. If someone later on, and it's hard to say this happens in general. Let's say someone in their 30s, they I don't know, their brain atrophies. Not because of anything else, just I don't know, brain atrophy. It's usually caused by something else. It's usually, like a major trauma. I know somebody I see come and learn a couple mornings a week for like an hour or more. He had COVID, then he had a stroke. Like major brain surgery. So a lot of things he can't do by himself. Amazing he even come in and learn. He was at death's door a few times. It's pretty amazing. But he doesn't have the same brain capacity he had before. He doesn't. He got sick, and that's what happened. Right? So you want to say, God, it's some form of punishment. We don't understand how it works. Right? So I'm not going to say it's for this, it's for that, it's for the other thing. Right? But obviously, God didn't want him to function the same way. Why? Could be something the soul had to go through. It could be something the person himself did. And God said, okay, now I'm going to use payback and I'm going to do it this way. Or I'm going to do it that way. Ultimately, we don't know. That's the bottom line. We don't know. We have no idea. Someone asked, going to convert a synagogue is not close to my dwelling. You have to move. Forgot to mention that. You have to move. You have to move within walking distance at some point. At some point, you have to move within walking distance. Doesn't have to be today, tomorrow, or the next day, but at some point, to have an Orthodox conversion, you have to move. Right? And if you can't move or it's impossible to move, then you won't be able to convert. Somebody asked, some rabbis hit the book in front of him during election. Why do they do that? Doesn't it damage the book? No, it doesn't necessarily damage the book. You have to remember, when people speak, people speak in general. People get fired up. People get excited. It's like people said certain things against me. It's like, oh, he yells and screams and this and that. Yeah, either turn down the volume, which, is definitely advisable. Right? But, people mistake yelling and screaming as anger when really it's about passion. When it's really about passion for what you believe in. Right? What you're talking about. So, can sometimes someone bang on the table and bang on a book? Yeah. Not going to break the book. Certainly not going to break the book. Right? Why some people do that? Again, people get excited about what they're teaching. Right? So, they bang on the lectern, they bang on the, on the beam or wherever they're speaking from. Is the book, it doesn't damage the book per se. You can't throw the book around. A holy book, I get it. But it doesn't damage it. It shouldn't damage it. Some people just lose themselves because they're just, excited about what they're doing. Willingly can't damage a book, that's forbidden. Why would they do it? Because they're excited, they're passionate. People have a lot of passion. People have a tremendous amount of passion on what they learn, what they want to give over. So they live it. Just because they bang on it, that doesn't mean that much. It's just that they have passion. They have a lot of passion for what they do. Someone asked, what separates a JIT from a no-hide? So I would say in some ways nothing, but a JIT, a Jew in training, is saying they're making a commitment to Torah mitzvahs that they want to convert. That's what they're saying. They absolutely want to convert. Yeah. A Noahide in general, they may want to convert later. Maybe. But they're not taking on a commitment to convert. In general, a JIT, a Jew in training, is going to be de facto Noahide anyway. The difference is they're committed to want to convert. That's the difference. So if they're committed to wanting to convert, they should keep more, 100%. If they're not committed, let's say, or they're not sure 100%, they shouldn't start the process. They should just do a no. Doesn't mean you can't learn whatever, but like you're not going to learn necessarily the same things. So that's the difference. Someone says I'm 100% committed. That's what I want. This is exactly what I want. So at that point, they can start keeping other things. If a person's like, I'm not sure, I'm not this, that, okay. But even if a person takes on, they want to convert. How many people convert? What's the percentage? Less than 20%, even if they're accepted by a rabbinical court. Doesn't mean they weren't necessarily serious, but they can flake out. Different things can happen. But if they're committed, they don't necessarily have to say it verbally, but they feel inside, this is my calling. This is the direction I want to go. This is really what I want. That's, fine. If they have a doubt, they're not really sure what's going to be, and this and that, maybe they shouldn't go through conversion right now. They should stay just to know how to learn certain things. Only learn what Noahide should do. It depends how far. Depends how far they're coming. And what they, where they want to go. That's the question. Right? That is the question. Someone asks, during the Kiddush, during Havdalah, when do we pour the wine? Before we start, at what point we say Brei Pri Hagafen? So Kiddush depends. So Friday night, you say Genesis chapter 2, right? Stand up, or some people sit when they say Vaychul, like God finished, creating the world. And then when you say Kiddush, right after Brei Pri Hagafen, you pour and then you drink, right? When you make the blessing of Brei Pri Hagafen, right at the end of Kiddush Friday nights, so you pour some of it out and you drink, then you give to everyone else. So come Shabbos day, same thing, right? Whatever part of Kiddush you say, is a different issue. Havdalah, you say Brei Pri Hagafen, the first blessing, you say besumim over the spices. Third blessing you make is over fire, right? Brei Morea Eish. You say over fire. Then you say the blessing Amavda Ben Kodesh L'Chol, right? Distinguish between the holy and everyday. And then you make the blessing, Amavda Ben Kodesh L'Chol, right? Then you make that blessing. Very good. Right, very good. So if that is the case, then what do? Then you drink and you pour out the wine and grapes on the fire. And if everyone else wants to drink from the cup, they can. That's what you do. An Havdalah candle before we begin the prayers, or when we say the prayer, no, you light it before. I mean, in theory, you could light the Havdalah candle right before you say it. You could do that. Right? You could do that, but most people light it before. Most people light it before they start Havdalah. Someone asked, one second here, someone asked, so know how to apologize to a Muslim speaking Lashon Hara about him. I would say that for Jews, that would be the case. I spoke Lashon Hara even against a non-Jew. Right, but in general, the Chofetz Chaim says that speaking Lashon Hara against a non-Jew is nothing wrong with it for a Jew. It's not a good habit to get into, right? Let's make clear. Certainly for a Jew, person may then speak Lashon Hara against a Jew, right? So speaking against a non-Jew, technically it's not a prohibition. No, it's not a good thing to do. Definitely not a good thing to do, the Chofetz Chaim says, but it's not necessarily, not necessarily a prohibition. A non-Jew doesn't have an issue. Why? Because they're not liable in the laws of Lashon Hara. Laws of Lashon Hara don't apply to them. Right? Now, Kaufman would say, as a moral imperative, it's good for non-Jews not to speak Lashon Hara. Right? That I would agree. That 100% I would agree. I would say in general, that it's not a good thing. It's a moral imperative. It's not a good thing for them to speak Lashon Hara, but it's not one of the Noahide laws. So in this case, you wouldn't have an obligation either way, right? It doesn't apply to you. Speak as much Lashon Hara against them as you want. I'm just saying it's not healthy to do. It's not a healthy thing to do in general, but it's not forbidden. In that case, it's not forbidden either, right? So you don't have a. I would say you don't have a. I would say that it's just not a good habit to get into. That's what I would say on that. Other questions? Anyone have any other questions? Someone mentions if you don't have Avdallah spices, what can you use instead? You can use cinnamon. Yeah, but do you have cinnamon? Do you have any cloves? Right? Crushed up cinnamon's good. Right? If you don't have any of that, that would be a problem. Someone said I heard you can use perfume or lemon. Lemon, I don't think is true. Lemon for sure not. Perfume, you gotta make the blessing, brain minei v'samim, or borei asve asamim. Asve meaning from like grass, different type of grasses that have a good smell. Yeah, but perfume wouldn't work. Perfume wouldn't work on that. What are spices needed for Avdallah? Again, you could use, cloves, cinnamon. If you had myrtle leaves, those are good. What else? I don't know. Well, those are three that come up to mind. Let's see what else. What else there is? Let's see once. Let's see here. Right, cloves, is definitely one. Some say you shouldn't use man-made substance. Something that are not used to produce a good smell, but a place to remove a bad smell. Oh, fresheners, air fresheners, and that shouldn't be used, right? That makes sense. That shouldn't be used. Some use myrtle leaves, let's say from the lulav. Some either from aromatic grasses, wood or fruit. You could use that. What else? I don't know. That's a whole bunch. That's a whole bunch of things right there. Yeah, hope that helps. Cloves is good. Yeah, cloves is good. Someone asked, how long after drinking do you have to say the after blessing? If you're not going to drink anymore, you're already obligated for, I would say you got about 3-4 minutes. 3-4 up to 5 minutes, I would say, maximum. Then you should make the after blessing. Or you should continue sipping every few minutes. Then you wouldn't have an issue. Some say Allah means moon god. What does the Torah say? I don't know. The Torah doesn't say anything about it. Right? They claim it's their God. Right? And we hold that they believe in the same God. We hold it's not idolatry. Right? We hold in general, again, someone will say, yeah, some people hold that Islam is idolatry. We hold it's not idolatry. Yeah. So so as far as I understand, Torah doesn't say anything about it, but it does mean God for them. So, but it's not idolatrous. That's what I would say. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, I'm going to stop here. I do this every Saturday, 2:30 Eastern Time, 9:30 Israel time. Tomorrow, Sunday, 9:00 Eastern Time, Book of Leviticus, chapter 17. Do want to mention, started last week, my one-on-one for spiritual coaching and group coaching. So it's still definite opening for both. Anyone interested in there? We're dealing with specifically dealing with difficulties people go through. Again, it's not therapy, right? As I mentioned, definitely not therapy, but helping people, deal with difficulties, let's say livelihood, health, or just, setbacks in general based on duties of the heart, Pirke Avos and the Ramchal in Derech Hashem, the way of God. So anyone interested in that, you can find me on Facebook at Michael Chaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion to Judaism, orthodoxconversion.com, and Beyond Orthodox Conversion to Judaism on YouTube. Or you can send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBICHAIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com, whichever the goods. Beginning of the day, middle of the day, end of the day, depending where you are. And